it's about the I got to say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State. Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game.
Ground ball, right side. Cabrera will cut it off. Galarraga covers. He's out. No, he's safe.
Phoenix has the foul, and a pinnacle ball throws it down.
DeBrincat gets it back to Goss's fair across now King.
They score! Raymond!
Bob got to the throw, and it's caught by St. Brown for a first down.
This is BS Sports.
And away we go. And away we go. You know, I had a plan for this show. All right? I had a plan. It was a beautiful plan. We were going to talk Michigan State. We were going to talk a little Lions. We were going to talk some NFL. We were even going to talk a little baseball as the Yankees are trying to avoid a sweep. And then, mere moments before I'm leaving work, I hear the news that Jameson Williams is now facing some trouble with this gun thing. He got pulled over by the cops. The cop let him go, but he had a gun or something. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to talk about this. I do not care. I don't care. Like, as long as he didn't break any laws, and seemingly if the police officer let him go, any major laws, I mean, look, if he wasn't storing it in the proper vicinity of the penumbras of the thing, like, whatever. But my thinking is, and I'm getting this out of the way at the beginning of the show, because I know it might be on the top of many people's minds. I just don't care. It's like somebody pointed this out in the Detroit Lions subreddit. Like, Jameson Williams is like the king of just doing dumb stuff that's not that annoying. It's just like, why are you? It's just kind of dumb, but it's not dumb enough to where you're like, oh my gosh, this guy needs to go. Like, it's not like he's, driving 170 in a 20, right? Or he's, waving his gun around at a public school. He's not doing that, right? He's I don't know, he's accidentally getting popped for PEDs. He's he was gambling in the team hotel when he shouldn't have been or something. He was it's just like what is it? Like, I don't want to say that he's just unlucky, because at a certain point you make your own luck, and your luck is not going your luck is going in one direction. But it is a little annoying, because it's like, all right, I don't want to have to defend JMO every other week. Can you just I don't know, sit at home and play video games or something? Like, I don't know, get the man a deck of cards, have him play solitaire. I don't do anything other than apparently drive around at night with your gun and getting pulled over. Like, I don't do literally anything other than that. Play Twister with your friends. What are some other wholesome activities? I don't know. I guess he could go to the gun range. Go to the gun range. You want to go shoot your gun? Go shoot the gun. I shoot. I got a gun. I shoot at the gun range. It's fun. Don't bring it. Don't drive around at 3 a.m. or whatever time it was. Don't do that. Just stop. Anyway, that's my rant about JMO. Welcome to BS Sports. Like I said, outside of the Jameson stuff, we got a great show. We got MSU. We're going to talk blame game, all right? Who is to blame? Because I think in the immediate aftermath of that loss to Michigan, third loss in a row, by the way, I think in the immediate aftermath, there is blame sort of going all around, much of it going on to Jonathan Smith. We'll talk about it. We'll break it down. And some other controversies that happened after that game. We also got the rest of college football. We got to talk a little bit about some of that. We got the NFL. Lions destroy the Tennessee Titans. I don't want to know what that score would have been if Jameson Williams was playing and Aiden Hutchinson was playing. Could you imagine? I don't think they would have scored. Genuinely. I think the only reason they ended up scoring was because there was no Aiden Hutchinson, and because Jameson Williams was, not on the field. We'll just say that. That's the last time I'm mentioning Jameson Williams. Last time. And also we got a little baseball. Yankees, Dodgers, starting game 4 in about an hour here. And I'm honestly like this World Series, making fun of the Yankees aside, I'm just very disappointed in this. This is like we got the two best teams in each of the respective leagues, like bar none, two best records, and then it's potentially just going to end up as a sweep. Like what the heck, New York? You couldn't make it at least like 2-2 or like, something like make it interesting. I don't know. I guess the baseball was like, you know what? We've had back-to-back now. Well, potentially, I guess we'll see. We've had back-to-back World Series where I go into it, I'm like, all right, Rangers, Diamondbacks last year. I was like, all right, we got two kind of feisty teams, young teams, gonna be interesting. And then the Rangers win in 5, and then this is like, all right, we got superstars, we got big names, big money, all the, and then it's gonna end probably in 4 games. Do something, MLB. I'm trying to advocate for baseball, and all it does is just like blow up in my face. All right. So at this point, I guess the only way is the Tigers got to go to the World Series. That's the only time we can make it interesting, I guess. Sorry, that's the way. But all right, enough stalling. Let's just jump into it. Michigan State falling to their rival Michigan, 24-17 is the final score. Just jumping up and down the box score, Nate Carter had a night, 118 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Aiden Childs, 189 yards and a touchdown, 17 for 23. Just kind of an okay night for Aiden Childs. Didn't really air the ball out too much. He did have a fumble on a strip sack. You also had Nate Carter receiving yards, a couple of catches for 56 yards. Nick Marsh had 4 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. Look, here's my takeaway. All right. Michigan State played about the kind of game that they have been basically playing most of the year, which is consistently inconsistent on drives. You had an opening drive, which got you all the way to the end zone, and you get nothing out of it. You miss a 25-yard field goal, which it wouldn't have been the difference in the game overall, but it certainly shifted the momentum to where, now Michigan is not playing from behind. They're playing with a tie, and you ended up stopping them anyway. But, teams get more desperate when they're playing from behind, and that's where mistakes can happen. But Michigan basically played mistake-free. They didn't turn the ball over. They didn't commit a single penalty. They didn't like Michigan or Michigan State. I think basically for either one of them to win, there had to be no catastrophic mistakes for either team. And I guess you could say that for most games. But for these teams that had been up to that point playing football full of mistakes, they needed to be able – the team who ended up making the least amount of mistakes was going to win the game. And that was Michigan. They played probably the best game they played all year. Like, no turnovers. Again, no penalties. They were pulling out the trick plays. Davis Warren, I thought, was cool, calm, and collected. I thought he played a really good game, 13 for 19, 123 yards and a touchdown. Donovan Edwards, 1 for 1. Maybe there's a quarterback controversy after all. They didn't really run the ball too much. I mean, Alex Orji is your leading rusher, but he was still held to 64 yards. Granted, he also had a touchdown. But it wasn't like Michigan offensively just had their way with Michigan State. They kind of ran away with it a little bit near the end there with, you had the trick play to touchdown to Colston Loveland. He had a couple of touchdowns. I said it going into the game. He's going to play on Sundays. He's one of the best tight ends in college football right now. And, as far as the game goes, there was some, I would say, harshness with Jonathan Smith. And the question I have then is this. Was it Jonathan Smith getting out coached, or was it Jonathan Smith getting out talented? And it's not mutually exclusive. Do I think he should have had a few more deep ball shots in this game? Yeah. I mean, Nick Marsh, he really didn't get targeted a whole lot. I think it would have really shifted the game if Aiden Childs could just let air the ball out to Nick Marsh. He did have the one deep shot to Montorie Foster Jr., and I thought, okay, look, I know we're running the ball pretty effectively. Nate Carter having a heck of a game. And Aiden Childs, you want to keep him sort of insulated. You don't want him to have to be your entire offense. But the offensive line for Michigan State is just not there. I mean, Aiden Childs had about half a second to make a decision. So I don't know what the game plan could have been and what individual play calls I would have taken back. I mean, in that first 4th and goal where you ended up having to settle for the field goal that you ended up missing, the not calling timeout and getting the delay of game penalty, that bothers me. I've said this before. Teams, when you have a timeout available to you, you should just never have a delay of game. Like it should be, I don't know if this would be an actual rule change that would apply in any real way, but I wouldn't mind that if you had the option as a team that gets penalized to either take the 5 yards or keep the yards, but you lose a timeout. I know the game already favors the offense, but I'm just saying, because it's just so stupid. How do you, you see I'm looking at the play clock watching the television, right? You have to know what the play clock is when you're on the field. If it's anywhere at 2 and your team is not set, hey, ref, over here, timeout, 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 timeout. And it's not like they can say, oh, we didn't see you. It's still going to be a penalty. We have cameras everywhere. All they got to do is look at it and be like, oh, okay, Smith was calling TO. That's fine. Called a timeout at such and such time. You do that, you come out of the huddle, maybe have a play lined up, you score, you're up 7 or 6-0 in the early game. And then you go out, you have them 3 them out, you can potentially go up 14-0 in the first quarter and just suck the air out of the entire stadium. Obviously, that didn't happen. And after Michigan State scored that initial touchdown, they just decided, you know what? That's enough offense for us. And I mean, it's one of those things where if you look at the team stats, if I were to tell you what the total team stats were for Michigan State, you would have thought Michigan State would have won by double digits. 352 total yards to Michigan's 265. They had the 1 turnover to Michigan's none, granted. They had 18 first downs. TOP, Michigan State, 37 minutes and 5 seconds. Michigan, 22-55. Michigan State had the ball for more than half of the game and scored 7 less points. You can't do it. Michigan took advantage of the opportunities that were given to them. Michigan State did not. I mean, it was like going back and forth between which team wants to lose this game more. You had Michigan missing the extra point. And then Michigan State fumbles it, gives them the lead at the half, and all of a sudden the juice is flowing for Michigan. All right, we can win this game. We can lock this game up. We get the ball back, right? We can have a chance to really open this one up wide. And Michigan State just didn't stand up to it. They didn't meet the task, right? They didn't meet the moment. Now, all of that leads into this. So, at this point, the investigation is done. But, end of the game, Michigan has already won the game. They're in victory formation. Michigan State fails to convert on the 4th down. That would have potentially set up a touchdown. You're never going to know. That could have tied the game, assuming they made the extra point. Michigan ends up walking the game off with an Alex Orji first down run. After the game, they go to knee it, and I'll just read directly from the ESPN article. Following Michigan's final kneel down of 24-17 win, Michigan State defensive lineman Anthony Jones and Michigan tight end Colston Loveland engaged in a quote scuffle, bringing both teams to the middle of the field as the clock expired. Video appeared to show Michigan running back Khalil Mullings and other Wolverines engaged with Michigan State personnel who were on the turf. Amidst the confrontation, student-athletes from both teams were on the ground and surrounded by so many individuals that both players were completely obscured from view, the Big Ten said in a statement Tuesday. The video review was inconclusive to whether individual discipline was appropriate for anyone in the immediate vicinity of the 2 players who were on the ground. Blah, blah, blah. Michigan coach Jerome Moore on Monday called the post-game skirmish, quote, unacceptable. He said any potential discipline will be handled internally, adding, quote, that's not how we represent the University of Michigan, the Block M, or the winged helmet, so we'll take care of that. That will never happen again. Hats off to Jerome Moore. I thought that was an excellent statement. When I read that, I want to say it was the morning after, I was like, okay, that's incredibly professional. He's absolutely right. His guys, whoever was that wrong, and I think it's both Colston Loveland and it's, anybody who was involved in the skirmish, do whatever it is you got to do. And I don't know that it is going to be acceptable to me, but if at least you're putting out publicly that this sort of thing is not acceptable, because it's not acceptable. I mean, it's like, this is the 3rd year in a row where it feels like we're doing this sort of thing, or where it just seems Like we're just sort of, it's beyond, like this is getting to the point where it's just, guys, it is just football, right? Like this should not, I'm not saying you got to like be best friends with other players, but like we can't have at the end of every single game Michigan and Michigan State players trying to beat the hell out of each other. We just can't do it. And then moving on to what Michigan State's head coach said, I think this is the quote that is, let me see if I can find it. No, this is a different, let's see. Here we go. So Smith was not coaching the MSU in 2022, but said of his first road experience in the Michigan State rivalry, quote, "There's a genuine dislike. You could feel that from the get-go of the pregame, from the crowd to the place, and then sharing the tunnel. That's unique in a rivalry." Is there any other extra to this article? I thought there was more. Well, all that is to say, I think this whole skirmish is just ridiculous. I mean, like, I'm glad that there was nothing huge had to come from this. The Big Ten obviously coming out and saying that nobody is going to get suspended or arrested. I do find it a little ironic that when a Michigan player is at the center of a post-game fight, it's like, okay, let's get the Big Ten investigated. Nobody's going to get hurt. It's not a big deal. But when a Michigan State player does it, it's like, oh, we got to get the CIA involved. We got to get the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, get everybody. Get every internal. We're gonna get the National Guard in. We got to get these players to Guantanamo. Basically, I do find that a little funny. But here's the thing. I think that this is a little bit of a wake-up call for Jonathan Smith. Now, do I think it would have been better for him to win the game? Yes, of course. It's always better to win than to lose. That's just common sense. However, in this particular game, I think he came at it with just, you don't quite understand a rivalry until you're in it. And I think this can spark something to where, you had the Colston Loveland, I think stupidly, and he admitted as much, bring up the little brother thing. It's like, we're talking about like 20 years ago at this point, like, or 15 years ago when Mike Hart said that, but like, you're still doing the same thing. Okay, fine. But all this is to say is that Jonathan Smith needs to be able to turn it on for next year. And frankly, he needs to be able to turn it on for the rest of this year. He can't let, this spiral into anything more, right? You got Indiana next week. That's not going to be an easy game. But Michigan State has played well enough to win a lot of games that they end up losing. Now, Indiana is probably the best team that they've played since Oregon. But Indiana is coming into the game a little hurt, I believe. I think their quarterback is injured. At best, if he plays, he's going to be playing, coming off an injury. And Michigan State has shown some ability to move down the field. It's just a matter of finishing those drives. And I don't know if Michigan State just doesn't have the talent for it. I think that's pretty much my assessment. They just don't have the guys in the room yet, especially on the offensive and the defensive line. And that's going to win you and lose you games. Like you managed to sneak a win against Iowa. That, there was a point at somewhere during the season where I said, Aiden Chiles is probably going to win you a game that you don't expect him to win. Maybe it was that Iowa game. Maybe it'll be this Indiana game. I don't know. But I have no harsh criticisms of Jonathan Smith other than, maybe you could have thrown the ball a little deeper. Maybe you could have had a little more passion in this game. I really think that this could, turn some of the gears in him and sort of unlock that rivalry spirit of this game. I mean, these teams, clearly they don't like each other. Clearly these players, they do not like each other. The fans, I can tell you that as much. As someone who's experienced the onslaught of Michigan fandom, we do not like each other. And that's, you could say it's bad for sports or whatever you want to say. It just is. Like, they don't like each other. They don't want to like each other. So Jonathan Smith's got to be able to unleash that fire in his players for next year. Because, look, 3 years in a row is not his fault because he wasn't here for the first couple of years. But you can't, as a program, lose to your rival 4 straight years, it'll get to the point where you're just like modern day Auburn, and it's like, is it even a game? Does I know people show out for the Iron Bowl, but does anybody even expect anything in the result? At least in this game, Michigan State put up enough of a fight to where you're like, okay, couple things go MSU's way this way, plays don't work out for Michigan. This game could flip, right? I think even the hardest Michigan fan, the most go blue all the way Michigan fan would agree. This was not some like dominant win by the Wolverines. We'll have to see. We're on to Indiana. I think that's basically all we got to go to is just move on. And you got the Hoosiers. It's probably going to be much harder. But yeah, tough loss. But I guess I can't come out from it feeling like absolutely awful and want to jump up and down and scream. I can't do it. I'm not so upset in the loss that I'm just done with Jonathan Smith or Aiden Childs or any of these guys. I can't. The team is not there where it's supposed to be, but they're still a 500 team, and they got a chance to be 500 in the conference next week. Is what it is. All right. So there's that. I guess we'll continue on college football. That's sort of what I plan. We'll continue. We'll do a little bit of a reverse of what we normally do. What we normally do is start with the NFL because it's usually the Lions are the front and center. But I don't. That game was not. There was nothing for me to talk about. There's really no real takeaways to come away from it. At least nothing new. But anyway. So take a look at the rest of college football this week. So Ohio State, they hold off Nebraska at home. Why do they always, they're like the Steelers. It's like Ohio State playing down to competition. If you look that up in the dictionary, you'd find this year's Ohio State. You'd find Ohio State under Ryan Day. This is just what they do. Like, I don't get it. You bring in Will Howard. You spend $1 gajillion to bring in Will Howard, and it's the same stuff. At a certain point, it's Ryan Day, right? Like, I don't know how to. It's not like they're lacking talent, okay? Quinshawn Junkins and Travion Henderson in the backfield, that's not a lack of talent. That's just a lack of doing anything. Like, both those guys carried the ball 10 times and were sub 30 yards. Where's the offensive line? Where's Ohio State dominating a Cornhuskers team, which is not in the top 25? Dylan Raiola, who has been slowly but surely, fumbling away at any, Patrick Mahomes comparisons. And you're allowing them to stay in this game. I mean, it was 14-6 at the half. By the end of the third quarter, it should be 35-6. Like realistically, if Ohio State truly is a national championship contender, which they are supposed to be this year, that's what should be expected. And yet, it doesn't matter. Jeremiah Smith, great player, but it's just not doing it. It's not resulting in these blowout wins that we see teams like Oregon come out with. We see teams like Texas or Georgia. Like, I just don't. At a certain point, it is on the coach. I don't know. Maybe on the other end, you say Matt Rule's a really good coach. He's building a program in Nebraska. He's able to keep his guys in it. To me, it's just I really don't know how secure Ohio State can be in, number one, potentially competing for the Big Ten. They got a big game this weekend against Penn State. I don't know how secure you can be in that game because as far as Ohio State and Penn State go, it's the Spider-Man meme. It's you, no you. It's they're the same. They feel like very similar teams. And I guess we'll see which one is the contender and which one's the pretender by next week. But I don't know. This is, how many weeks in a row have we seen this sort of thing from Ohio State at this point? I mean, obviously you had the Oregon game. They played very close. They blew us out. They blew out Iowa. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. Like, it just doesn't. Whatever. You beat Marshall. That game, Marshall scored 14. I don't know when they scored that 14. I don't think that game was ever close. Like, they beat up on a bunch of bad teams. All right, that's fine. Soon as the getting gets a little tough, that's when they start to play down to competition. So, I mean, their upcoming schedule, they got at Penn State, they got Purdue at home, They got Northwestern on the road. I mean, 2 out of those 3 games are obvious. I say obviously should be, hopefully, at least for their sake, just destruction. You should be able to beat Purdue in the first quarter, and Northwestern the same thing. I don't care if it's on the road. I don't think any of those guys go to the. I don't think any of those students go to the games. But then you got Indiana at home, and then you got Michigan at home. And now I don't think Michigan's good. I mean, but I don't know. Like, if an unranked Nebraska team can keep it close with Ohio State, I think it's not out of the realm of possibility that an currently unranked Michigan team could make it close with Ohio State, their biggest rival. You kidding me? You think those guys at Block M won't show up for a rival game end of the year? I mean, all they've been hearing probably all year is how much better Ohio State is than them and how Ryan Day is going to easily be able to beat them this year. I'm just saying. And then obviously Indiana is its own thing. Luckily, you get that game at home, so you don't have to deal with any sort of travel or student section. But man, I don't know. Especially if they lose this game to Penn State and they get their second loss of the season. Well, for one, they could probably, kiss the Big Ten title goodbye at that point, because you're probably not going to end up in that championship game, short of a Penn State / Oregon collapse. I don't know. The more Ohio State I see, the more it just feels like last year, but with a different guy at center. That's how I feel, I guess. Speaking of murder, I don't know why murder came up. Illinois, that was tough. That was a little mean of Oregon to do this. 38-9. Look, I know Illinois is not exactly, Alabama in its prime, or, Texas or USC in its prime, but I thought maybe they'd make this a little interesting. No, that not at all. Basically, not at all. Did they score a touchdown? They had 1 touchdown. Okay, they got a touchdown. That's more than Michigan State could say against Oregon. So there's that. But I don't want to do it, but I kind of do want to do it. Is this finally? Do we finally? Can we confirm? Oregon is now the best team in the country. Is that because every time I say that, every time I think that, it ends up as like, oh, actually, they're going to lose the next week. I don't know who Oregon plays next week. Oh, wait, they play Michigan next week. All right. If Michigan beats Oregon next week, you can blame it on me, because every time I point out, okay, Alabama, are they the best team in the country? Or Georgia, are they the best team in the country? Texas, it's like every time I say that, the team that I declare it loses the next week. And they lose to some team that they should not have any business losing to. And it's right after a dominant game that they just, show out. So, I mean, Dylan Gabriel's playing at a really elite level. He very well could be the first quarterback off the board. I mean, he is a lefty, so I don't know. Maybe that might affect some things, because people do. It does actually change. Like, your blindside blocker is not on the other side. It's a whole thing. Anyway, Dylan Gabriel's playing at an elite level. He's really good for the Oregon Ducks right now. And I don't know. I mean, let's take a look. Who do they play coming up? What? I mean, obviously they got Michigan on the road. They got Maryland at home. They got Wisconsin on the road. They got Washington at home. I mean, who's beating them? Probably the toughest game is probably at Michigan next week. That's probably the toughest game, because Maryland at home, that you might as well just write that one off as a tax write-off. Washington at home, I really don't see that being a problem. At Wisconsin, maybe, because it's on the road, but Wisconsin don't have a quarterback. I mean, I just don't see them losing another game the rest of this year. They've gotten through Ohio State. They got through Illinois. Those are the 2 big dogs I had to play this year. I don't think anybody remembers. They played UCLA this year. Does anybody remember that? Does anybody even know that UCLA is in the Big Ten? Like, I have to remind myself. Oh yeah, UCLA is a Big Ten team. If it wasn't for those commercials where they show all the Big Ten schools, I would genuinely forget that UCLA was in the Big Ten. Sometimes, and USC for that matter too. I just forget. I'm like, oh yeah, they are. It's almost like there's too many teams in the Big Ten. Almost. in the Big Ten, made up of how many teams? 18? Yeah, that's great. I love this sport. It's great. But yeah, I mean, Oregon, I think they are the best team in football. So if they lose, you can blame it all on me. All right. If they lose next week, you can blame it all on me. I'll take the blame. That's okay. Then I got to talk about the SEC. Texas handles their business. They beat Vanderbilt by a score of 27-24. All right. You know what, SEC? We're having an intervention. You are on drugs. Stop it. Stop taking drugs. Why is Diego Pavia, keeping Vanderbilt in a game? Why? This is the number 5 team in the country going in to play Vanderbilt, and you would have thought Vanderbilt was Georgia the way that this game was going. 14-7 Texas at the end of the first. Then it's 21-10 at the end of 2. Then it's 24-17. It's a 1-possession game going into the fourth quarter. Texas doesn't score a single touchdown in the second half entirely. I don't. Why is the SEC like this every year or every week? It's like some team in the SEC decides, you know what? We're going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. We're going to play down to competition. Like, let me just see. Was there anything else? I mean, I guess you had LSU losing to Texas A&M. That was, I guess it's technically an upset. I don't know. This is on the road. I'm not going to lose any sleep about that. But you got Alabama knocking the doors off of Missouri. It's like, oh, okay. Sorry, Missouri. Thought maybe you were going to get something going this year, but no. No, not at all. Ole Miss beats Oklahoma. Sure. I don't. Like, the SEC is just on drugs this year. Hold on. Let me pull up the standings in the conference right now. Let me pull this up. Can I? Where is statistics? Schedule? Full schedule? All right. They're right here. You have, let's see. You have one team that is in the conference undefeated. Do you know what team that is? If you guessed Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, you would be wrong. If you guessed Texas A&M, you would be right. Texas A&M, currently the only team in the conference that's undefeated. Now, I know some of that is sort of schedule-based, right? You have, Texas played, they played all of their out-of-conference games already. They're just now getting into the SEC. Only a couple of weeks ago, they started playing SEC games. I understand, but it's like, who would have guessed this? And it's not like Texas A&M is playing nobody, right? Like, it's not like they're playing, the little sisters of the poor. They're playing LSU. They just beat LSU. They played Missouri. Say what you want about Missouri. Maybe they're falling apart. Maybe they are. I'm just saying, like, the path for Texas A&M, and looking ahead at their schedule, they got at South Carolina, they got New Mexico State at home, they got at Auburn. That might as well be a home game because Auburn sucks. Like, they could very well be undefeated going into Texas in the final week of the year. And that would also make them undefeated in the SEC, which would give them the number 1 spot in the SEC. Like, they could be playing Texas with a chance to then be able to play in the SEC championship game. I can't explain it. I cannot explain this. The SEC is just on drugs. It's just coked up out of its mind. I don't know. Somebody figure it out. Get the best scientists in the world and have them figure it out, because I can't understand it. I just can't. So, speaking of things I can't understand, we'll talk about the AP rankings really quick here, because there wasn't too much movement. You had Miami moving up to the top 5. They are number 5. Texas drops out of the top 5 down to number 6. Notre Dame jumps up 4 spots, blowing out Navy. I mean, that's kind of sad. Our Navy is losing to a Notre Dame. That doesn't bode well, right? I really hope nobody wants to go to war with us. We're losing football games to Notre Dame. That's not good. BYU moving up to the top 10. They are number 9. They move up a couple of spots. Texas A&M, they're in the top 10. Jump up 4 spots. Clemson drops a couple of spots to 11. Iowa State drops to be tied in 11, I guess. I don't know how that works. Alabama jumps up a spot to 14. Boise State goes up to 15. LSU, after that loss, they dropped 8 spots out of the top 10 into the 16 spot. Kansas State drops a spot to 17. Pitt jumps up to 18. Ole Miss drops a spot to 19. SMU moves into the top 20, up 2 spots. Army continuing to move up. So the Navy might have fallen, but the Army is continuing to rise. They're 21st in the country, which is crazy. And then Illinois and Missouri both dropped 4 spots. Illinois to 24 and Missouri to 25. And one more note. I have to talk about this because it's no getting around it. Colorado moving into the top 25. They're 6-2. They're bowl eligible after a blowout win against Arizona, I want to say, this year. Look, there's no questioning that Colorado is playing much, much better than they did last year. They're winning more games at the very least. I, however, am a hater. And a hater never goes back on his word, darn it. I just, for one, there's a lot of context that changes how this team happens to be getting the results that it wants. For one, you look at their schedule, they're in a very weak conference in the Big 12. There's no more Texas. There's no more Oklahoma in that Big 12. Not that Oklahoma's all that good this year, but you get my point. The conference is not all that good. The schedule that they have is particularly not there's no team in there where you're like, okay, yeah, like they got to act Texas Tech this year or the next week. That could be a pretty tough game potentially on the road, but I could certainly see Colorado come away with a win. I think Colorado's got a lot of talent. They do. I mean, Shedeur Sanders is a first-round pick. Travis Hunter is, definitely a first-round pick. He might be the first defensive player off the board or offensive. I don't even know. He's everything. That's the point. They have guys. The question is it the guys they already had just playing at the level that they already were last year? Or is it Deion Sanders coaching his guys up? Because look, fair enough, there really hasn't been a whole lot of controversy around Colorado. Now, granted, they are winning games. And winning, as I have been routinely informed, solves all problems. Any drama, any problems, it's all solved as soon as you start winning games. Shedeur Sanders talking crap about his O-line, doesn't matter when you start winning. Deion Sanders not taking home visits to recruits, doesn't matter when you're winning. How long will it last? I don't know. This feels like a little bit of fugazi to me. It feels a lot like getting bailed out by some really good players that can clean up any of the potential nonsense that might be happening in the background. I don't really know the kind of coach that Deion Sanders is. I don't really get what his style is other than blow teams out. Like when it's close games, for the most part, the games don't go the way. The Kansas State game was a close game, didn't go the way. The Nebraska game was close until it wasn't. Obviously, that's every game, but I need to see more consistent success. Because you could say, oh, well, if he gets to 10 wins, let's say he wins out, gets 10 wins. What if he has a chance to win in the Big 12? Okay. I've seen this kind of thing before where a coach does really well one year, despite the fact that he had a rocky start, and then, they get the talent in and it looks like it's cooking. And you present that success on behalf of the coach. Like you say, it's a result of the coach. I don't know. There's not enough information to say that it's the coach and not just the guys that he brought in. Now, look, he brought him in. There's credit for that. But whether or not it lasts, that is a whole other story. So, before we go into the pros, really quick, want to just preview Week 10. Give some shout outs to some games that I think will be interesting. So, if you're looking for games to watch, I'll give you something. So, obviously, I already mentioned it earlier. Penn State hosting Ohio State, 12 o'clock on Fox. That's probably the game of the week. I mean, that's a really awesome matchup. two top 4 teams in the country, according to the AP poll. 2 Big Ten teams going at it. Both teams, who is the faker? Basically, it's the Spider-Man meme. Which one is the fake Spider-Man? Find out. 12 o'clock on Fox. I think that's gonna be a really good game. You got. Let's see. Is there anything else? I guess you got Oregon at Michigan. I mean, maybe at the beginning of the year, this might have seemed to be like a much better matchup. I don't know. It's either going to be an ugly game and it's going to be close, or Michigan's going to get his doors knocked off. And frankly, I think it could go in either direction. I don't see it. I don't see it being so clear one way or the other. I guess you got Indiana at Michigan State. I don't think that's really going to be that interesting. That game's on Peacock. So you got to pay for that game. You got to pay. Well, I guess you got to pay for every game, theoretically. But you got to pay for a subscription service for that game. I don't know why Peacock always puts the bad game. Well, here's the thing. I've talked about this before. The problem with these streaming service games is they're kind of in a terrible spot, right? Because if you put a really bad game on Peacock, well, nobody's going to buy Peacock. Nobody's going to subscribe to Peacock to go watch that game. But if you put a really good game, well, people are also not really going to do that because they're going to be like, what the heck? I don't want to watch this. You're putting this really good game. Like, this really good game needs to be on national television. It needs to be available to everybody to watch. Like, you're not going to get as many views if you put it. There's a reason they don't put the Super Bowl on Netflix. They'll put Christmas Day on Netflix. They'll put, Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. They'll put, regular season games in the NHL on Hulu and ESPN Plus. They won't do the Stanley Cup on that because they know, everybody knows you get more publicity, you get more viewership when you just put it on regular TV. So again, so you basically have to get these kind of middle of the road games. You have to get these kind of like, maybe it'll be a good game, maybe it'll be a terrible game, but basically you can rationalize somebody being like, oh, yeah, okay, I guess I kind of want to watch Indiana, Michigan State. All right, yeah, Aiden Childs is a young quarterback. I don't know. Indiana's kind of a fun team. Sure, why not? Let's see, what else do we got? I guess Texas A&M at South Carolina. That could be an interesting game. South Carolina played LSU pretty close a couple of weeks ago, so maybe Texas A&M might be on upset watch potentially. I doubt it, but maybe. Apparently, you also have Pitt at SMU, little ACC matchup. Little ACC matchup between two teams that are not on the Atlantic coast. That's something. I think Pitt has been in the ACC for a little bit, but Pittsburgh is not on the Atlantic coast. Pittsburgh's not a coastal town. It's by a river. You got that. There's river. Maybe they just think it's a body of water, and then they're like, okay, well, the river eventually leads to the ocean. Yeah. I guess that's kind of like a coast. There's beaches on the river, right? Some beaches. I actually don't know. I don't think there's any beaches on the Ohio River. I don't know. Anyway. You got Florida at Georgia. Anybody? No, nobody's interested in that. Okay, it's apparently a rivalry. I was listening to a sports talk show today, and one of the hosts said that the Florida Georgia rivalry is one of the best rivalries in football. What? Where do you get off to saying Florida Georgia? I mean, it's kind of fun, but it's not. It's not Auburn, Alabama. It's not, Michigan, Ohio State. It's not even Michigan State as far as I'm concerned. Like, Florida, Georgia. I mean, I know it's a country band, but come on. Has that rivalry ever been competitive? Like, maybe like 30 years ago or 20 years ago when, what's his name? Tim Tebow was on the team. Florida has just kind of sucked for a long time. And I guess to be fair, Michigan State has been bad for a pretty long time at this point as well. But at least we've had a few nice wins. I don't know. What do you want from me? I guess I was just taken back by that. You also got Vanderbilt at Auburn. I honestly don't think Auburn is going to win this game. I think Vanderbilt is going to win this game. But there's just something about these two bottom tier SEC teams, or at least mostly bottom tier SEC teams. There's just something about it that just makes me laugh. It's so pure. Also, if you want to watch really bad football, you got Northwestern at Purdue. That might be the least viewed football game of the week. I think the only chance you get people watching that game is on the multi-view on YouTube TV. Which, by the way, can we, I just want a world, okay? YouTube TV. I pay many, many dollars a year for your beautiful service, okay? Can we just get a world where I can just pick 4 games, regardless of the network? I want these 4 games on my screen. I don't want to have to choose through your pre-selected ones, or you can supposedly build your own multi-view when it's just the same thing. It's like, oh, okay, you can build your own multi-view. Okay, you want this game? All right. Since you picked this game, you get these other games that you can use. That's not building a multi-view. This is the same garbage you were giving me before. Multi-view is good for college football Saturdays and for March Madness. It's that is peak multi-view. I need to be able to just say, I want the Michigan State whatever game, the Illinois, whoever, the Michigan, the Georgia. I want 4 games that I care about. That's what I want. I don't want to have, you got 3 games and then, I don't know, Northwestern Washington. Some garbage. I don't want that. I want to be able to just choose my games. So YouTube TV, please, help me out. Help me help you. Help me help you. Anyway. Wait, what's happening in this? Why did Alex Rodriguez not take... Okay, Alex. Wow, what a surprise! So you got the stupid Fox panel. I can't stand the Fox baseball panel. It's 3 of my least favorite human beings and Kevin Burkhardt. Alex Rodriguez, you know who he picked tonight to win against between the Dodgers and the Yankees? You'll never guess this. It was the Yankees. You'll never guess it. And then Big Papi, big fat cheating steroid using Big Papi, everybody's favorite lovable fat loser jerk. Who ruined my life? Let's see. Is he gonna pick the Yankees? No, he's not gonna pick the Yankees. And then Derek Jeter, Mr. Yankee, the captain. Who's he gonna pick? I don't know. Oh, he took the Yankees. You know what I want? This is what I want to happen in the middle of the game.
Ow!
Foul ball.
Ow.
All 3 of them. I can't stand any of them. Alex Rodriguez is painfully boring. Derek Jeter is the most egotistical, overrated shortstop in baseball. Every time his ass played the Tigers, he didn't show up. And then David Ortiz is just a fat lard who gets away with using steroids because people like him personally. He's basically, he was on the report. I didn't end up on that report. I'm just saying. Maybe I did use steroids. You don't know. I'm not a particularly big guy. It'd be a little weird if I did. Anyway, let's jump into the NFL, though. Because we'll talk baseball probably a little bit. Just probably before the picks, just briefly. Just to hit it. So, the Lions played a football game. Now, I'm going to read you these box scores. And if I just read you just the stats, you would not be able to determine who won this game. Or at the very least, you would say the Lions did not play a very good game. Jared Goff was 12 for 15 for 85 yards. He was sacked 4 times, 33 yards. David Montgomery carried the ball 9 times, 33 yards. Sam Laporta was your leading receiver. He had 6 catches for 48 yards. Khalif Raymond had a couple of catches for 14 yards. Amon-Ra had 2 catches for 7 yards. And let's see some team stats here. The Lions had just 225 total yards and 17 first downs, holding the ball for 24 minutes and 23 seconds. Now, I read you all of that. And now I will read you a second half of those stats. Jared Goff threw for 3 touchdowns. David Montgomery also threw for a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs ran the ball 11 times for 127 yards and a touchdown. David Montgomery also ran for a touchdown. Sam Laporta caught a touchdown. Khalif Raymond caught a touchdown. Brock Wright caught a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught a touchdown. And just to put the icing on the cake, Khalil Dorsey had 1 return for 72 yards, and Khalif Raymond had 5 total punt returns for 190 yards, 1 for 90 yards and a touchdown. And the Lions won by a score of 52-14. When I say this was one of the weirdest games that I've ever watched, I mean it. This was one of the strangest football games where it was so lopsided, but in a weird way, it didn't really feel like it was lopsided. Like, it was like the Lions would get the ball and then, okay, 2 plays later, they score. And then, here come the Titans. And then, they went 3 and out. And then the Lions would return the ball and they're starting at like the 30. And okay, it takes like 2 plays and they score. And it's like, oh, okay. Like the Lions pulled out the David Montgomery pass to Sam Laporta. I was like, okay, you know what? This game was over in the third quarter. The Titans didn't score the entire second half. They had just 1 touchdown in each of the opening quarters. The Lions had, oh my goodness, they had not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 touchdowns in the first half alone. Then they had 2 more in the third quarter, as well as a Jake Bates field goal. I didn't even mention the Jake Bates field. Jake Bates, also new career long for him. He kicked a 51-yarder and was perfect on the extra points. So Jake Bates continuing to be one of the best kickers in the NFL right now. And Jack Fox, he also punted the ball for an average of 61 yards. This was like the weirdest blowout. Like the Cowboys blowout was like the Lions were just destroying them. They were just marching down the field. They were running all these crazy plays, throwing the ball, running the ball. Didn't matter. They were destroying them. The Lions did all that and more against Tennessee, and yet it didn't feel as brutal. And maybe it's just because I hate the Cowboys, and it just felt good to watch Jerry Jones on his birthday just have his day ruined because his team is nothing more than a bunch of charlatans and frauds. Hashtag Dak Prescott is just black Tony Romo. That's a really long hashtag, but we're running with it. And I guess I just don't have anything to say about the Titans. Like, they're a terrible team. Mason Rudolph is their quarterback. I said this going into the year. The Titans are awful. Like, their roster is terrible. They just got rid of their best, presumably their best receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. Although, granted, Calvin Ridley, have a game. 10 catches, 143 yards. Good for him. But what I will say is this. Mason Rudolph was sacked just 1 time in this game, and it was on an Alex Anzalone blitz. That is not going to work. This Lions team is so desperate for pass rushers that it is evident that when Sam Darnold and now Mason Rudolph are dicing up your secondary, you need to bring some pressure. You need some guy off of the edge to, on a 3rd down or on a 1st and 10, to, here's your job, kill the quarterback. We need somebody like that. And whether it's Darius Smith, whether it's, ideally, whether it's, a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby, if you want to live in fantasy land where those guys are getting dealt, I don't think they will be. The reality is this team does absolutely need a pass rusher, and it couldn't be more evident than in this game. The offense is fine, all right? Get rid of Jameson Williams, doesn't matter. We're still going to drop a 50 bomb on this. It doesn't matter. Now, is it better with Jameson Williams? Of course it is. It's better with Amon-Ra. We could probably win a game without Amon-Ra. We just did. Amon-Ra had 2 catches, okay? And one of them was a touchdown, but it didn't matter. Sam Laporta finally had a game, finally had a really good game, with the 6 catches and 48 yards. We're really good on offense. We need to be able to bring pressure from the defensive line. Aleem McNeil is great. DJ Reader is great. I even like what I've seen from Levi Onwuzurike. All very solid guys on the defensive line. We need a stud. We need somebody to go out there, or 2 guys to make it work, to use a line from Moneyball. You can't replace Giambi, but you can replace his production. You're not looking to replace the man. You're looking to replace the stats that he puts on the board. Because you're not going to be able to replace Aiden Hutchinson. You're just not. And he is the heart and soul of the defense. If not him, Alex Anzalone, right? Like, what you're going to need to do is you might need to pull up, a Harold Landry and a Zadarius Smith or an Arden Key. Maybe those are the guys you got to go after. Or maybe you got to call New York and see if I don't think Dexter Lawrence is going to be available. But I know there was somebody on the on the Giants defensive line. I can't think of his name, but either way, you might have to call some of these bad teams. They might need to get some of those scrappy guys that, maybe they get to, 6 or 7.5 sacks a year, roughly. And you get 2 of those guys on either edge that are reliable, that can get you the pressure to the quarterback that you need to suffocate the pocket to where now we're daring the quarterback to have to beat us and beat our secondary, which is very, very good, right? Okay, when your best option to go after is an Amik Robertson, who's been really solid, like that's a pretty good situation for your defense to be in. We'll see if Brad Holmes makes those moves. But you got Green Bay coming up on Sunday. And Jordan Love is, at best, going to be playing a little hurt. You need to be able to bring pressure at that point. And you know what? If you need to get creative, if you need to blitz CBs, if you need to blitz Alex Anzalone, do it. Do whatever it is you got to do. But it's at a certain point, you're going to need to stop using, gimmicks and crazy blitzes where everybody's just bringing the pressure. You're going to need to bring in some actual guys here. And there's plenty of availability. I don't think that the market is small. And there's always teams that make stupid decisions. And maybe that'll be us. I don't think it will be, just based on Brad Holmes' track record at making trades and making moves and bringing in guys. But I don't think it's like something we can just get away with. I think we do have to actually make the move. So we'll see if it ends up happening by the end of this week. And then we get a guy coming in on Sunday. The more time passes where it doesn't happen, the less likely it feels like it's going to. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. It was a good win. It was a great win. You dropped 50 points. You set, I think that was tied with the franchise record or close to the franchise record. It was fun, but next week you got a big game. Green Bay is not going to, score 2 touchdowns in the first quarter and then just go away. The first 2 quarters, I should say. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, go Lions. I mean, this was fun, but I need some moves. I need them desperately. Please, Brad. The boys are desperate for some quarterback pressure. I just need it. I can't be stressed every week. All right, give me a stress-free weekend. What is up with the middle tooth on John Smoltz? His middle bottom tooth. It looks like he got punched in the. Hold on. Is that? I mean, I'm not saying. Hold on. Let me get a picture of John Smoltz. Is that what he's just always looked like? Did he lose a tooth? I'm not a dentist or anything. I'm just curious. What happened to John Smoltz's teeth? I don't know. Go to the dentist, John. What are you doing? You're like, oh, how rich is John Smoltz? John Smoltz. Let's just look at contracts. Let's see. I mean, in the 90s. Let's see. He made $1 million. He made $5.5 million with the Red Sox for a year in 2009. He made $400,000 with the Cardinals that same year. Somehow. Let's see. He had a $14 million extension with the Braves. $20 million. Yeah, I think he's doing pretty well. He can afford to go to the dentist. I would think. I don't know. Maybe he spent all that money. Maybe he did go to the dentist. That's an even more terrifying potential. Anyway. Let's continue on in the NFL, though. So, we got many storylines. First one I got to get to. Cincinnati. You're officially dead to me. I'm done with the Cincinnati Bengals. Joseph Burrow, I know it's not all your fault, my beautiful baby boy. I know it's not all your fault. But damn it, it's your problem, man. I mean, what the heck? 234 yards, a touchdown, and an interception for Joe Burrow. His team scores just 17 points. you let the Philadelphia Eagles come into your house and sit in your favorite chair and drink your beer and make you look stupid. All right. You let Jalen Hurts throw just 4 incompletions. I'm very upset. I'm very emotional about this because I love Joe Burrow, and all I want is for the Cincinnati Bengals to succeed. All right. I just want them to be happy. They went to the Super Bowl. I was rooting for them. I was like, Tyra Banks, hold on. Where is the drop? Here it is. Here it is.
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you?
That's how I feel right now about the Cincinnati Bengals. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. I'm sad angry. I'm just like, I guess that's what disappointment is. This is just, you're now 3-5. You're 0-4 at home. They have not won a home game, boys and girls. That's not good. How is that even? I didn't know that was possible at this point in the year. Unless you were like one of the worst teams, I didn't think you could get away with not winning a single home game, but they have. And I don't want to get twisted. All right. Don't give me this. The Eagles are back. The Eagles are not back. No, the Eagles are not back. All right. The Eagles are doing this thing that a lot of bad good teams do, which is feast on bad competition to make you think they're back. It's not true. It's a lie. It's a mirage. It's like a oasis in the desert. It's just a mirage. It's getting you to drink sand, basically. That's what it's trying to do. I don't believe in any of this because their coach is a numbskull. And it's basically like you had that Simpsons meme where the 2 monkeys are fighting each other and people were throwing. That's what this was. Is monkey number 1 is Zach Taylor and monkey number 2 is what's the other guy? What's Philly's coach's name? What's his? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the guy's name. Who's the coach? Who is the coach? What is his name? What is his name? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Can I see it in roster? No. Maybe. No. What is his name? Oh my God. Sirianni. Nick Sirianni. We're just going to cut that in post. I'm not going to cut that in post. So it's basically Sirianni is monkey number 1 and Zach Taylor is monkey number 2. And they're just trying to kill each other. And monkey number 2 won. Congratulations. Or monkey number 1 won. I don't remember which one was Sirianni. Whichever monkey was Sirianni, that's the one who won. It's two apes. Just seeing which one was more ape-like. So, yeah. Yeah, Devontae Smith is pretty good. A.J. Brown is pretty good. Saquon Barkley is pretty good. I am looking forward to when the Eagles inevitably start falling apart, as they always do. So, fun stuff. And speaking of fun stuff, I hate to say I told you so. I really do. I hate to. If anybody who's watched the show for any amount of time, I hate to say I told you so. I do. I don't brag about things. I'm not a gloater. Don't go back and look at the Cowboys' reaction. Don't watch that video. Don't do that. I am loving what's happening with the Jets. This is exactly what Aaron Rodgers and the Jets deserve. And now, notice what I say here. This is not what Jets fans deserve, okay? Jets fans are, love or hate the Jets, the team. Those fans have been through hell and back. And I got to give them credit for sticking with their team when, meanwhile, the other team in the city has won Super Bowls, plural, playing in the exact same stadium as them. And they haven't made the playoffs in like 10 years. Now, thanks to the Lions, their playoff win drought is, I want to say it might be, Miami's might be longer, but I think they're like second or third in playoff win drought. But either way, this is just so perfect, okay? Aaron Rodgers is like he's like the anti-LeBron. In a way, whereas when LeBron takes over a team, and sometimes it doesn't always work, but I guess it hadn't worked recently. But LeBron, he gets all of his guys, right? He goes to Miami, he gets Chris Bosh. Obviously, already had Dwayne Wade. Things go his way, right? He controls his team, led GM. Aaron Rodgers, however, is doing everything he can to build the worst team I've ever seen take the field for the Jets. Short of them actually having Zach Wilson, which, frankly, you didn't tell me this was Aaron Rodgers playing quarterback, we wouldn't really even know because it's pretty much the same thing. Now, look, what people will say as well, he threw for 2 touchdowns. When were those touchdowns? Were they in clutch time? Did they amount to anything? Did they amount to winning? Because your team is 2-6, 1-4 on the road. You have all of the stars, quote unquote. You have Garrett Wilson, alleged star. I mean, granted, he had 113 yards. He played a pretty good game. You have Devontae Adams, who you wanted to bring in. You have, oh my gosh, what's his name? Is Alan Lazard, is he still playing? His name's not on the box score, so probably not. Like, you have Nathaniel Hackett doing something. I don't know what he does anymore because he's not playing, calling plays. You fired Robert Saleh, which I thought Robert Saleh was not doing a very good job. But at this point, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. This is Aaron Rodgers' team. And to anybody who thought that Aaron Rodgers was just going to waltz in to the Jets and they were just going to be Super Bowl contenders, you deserve a little bit of blame too. Because I was saying the very moment that he went to the Jets that this was not a good idea. That he was not the player he was in Green Bay 2 years ago. Heck, he wasn't. Right now, he's not the player he was in Green Bay 3 years ago. Or actually 2 years ago at this point, I should say. 2022 was his last year with the Packers, and he was not very good. And he's managing to be even more embarrassingly bad. It's one thing to lose, to, let's just say, a pretty good team. Let's say, I don't know, maybe like the Arizona Cardinals, all right? Arizona Cardinals, they're not, like, amazing. They're not, like, you lose to that team, okay. That's all right. Like, I get it. You're not a very good team. That's a team that could sneak up on. It's another thing to lose, not to a rookie quarterback who was starting to get adjusted and starting to get well. Because Drake May got hurt in this game and exited the game, didn't come back. You lost to Jacoby Brissett, who got benched for said rookie quarterback, and also a team that had won just one game. You did that all on your own, Aaron. So this is your team, this defense, playing like garbage now. Sauce Gardner, what happened to him? He went from, like, easily top corner in the league to, brother, are you even out there on the field? Because the guys are eating you up like you're a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I enjoy laughing at the Jets, or most specifically, laughing at Aaron Rodgers, because this is the situation he built for himself, and he's immune to a responsibility. He's got, like, Kevin Durant syndrome, where he just doesn't take responsibility for the teams that he has built, the toxic environment that he has created for himself. And I guarantee you, he's gonna go to his grave thinking he did absolutely nothing wrong to the Jets. That's just kind of how he is. Okay, he's selfish. He's full of himself. He loves the sound of his own voice. That's why he's constantly going on podcasts. Why he's constantly going on Pat McAfee's show, and why Pat McAfee and the mindless seals that just hey, Aaron Rodgers is on the show. Oh, Aaron, you're just so funny. Oh, say the line, Aaron. Say the line. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, this guy wants to be a podcaster more than he wants to be a winning quarterback. So just stop. Just say to the Jets, you know what? It was fun. Thanks for the memories, even though they weren't so great. I'm out. I'm going to host the Aaron Rodgers show, where I'm going to say crazy things about doing drugs and, pooping your guts out to clear yourself of all the negative vibes. I don't know. It's just stop playing football. All right. You should have stopped playing football after the Lions beat your ass on national television in your house. That's when you should have just stopped. You should have said, you know what? That's it. My time has come. You've pushed the flag on to the next generation, right? Jared Goff, next generation of quarterback in the NFC North. You're letting it go, right? You can go off to the sunset. That was also the same. That was also, I want to say, the final year for Tom Brady as well, right? So the old guard is moving along, right? Tom Brady goes away, and Rodgers goes away, and we all just move along. He didn't want to do that. He was like, what's his name? Was it Icarus that got too close to the sun? And now you're burning up. I think it was Icarus. I don't know my Greek mythology. Anyway. So I got to talk about this Jacksonville and Green Bay game as well. So for Jacksonville, I like, why does Doug Peterson have a job? Like, what does he even do? Okay. What does this man even do? You know what's even sadder is, so they tie it up late in this game. And Green Bay still, because they get the ball back, it's like classic like Aaron Rodgers, right? You left too much time for Aaron, right? I was talking about Aaron Rodgers in a negative light, but now like positive light, as Freddie Freeman just hit a 2-run home run and the Dodgers are up 2-0. Freddie Freeman is going to win the World Series MVP at this point. Anyway, the Jaguars, even when Trevor Lawrence throws for 300 yards, he still can't get it right. His defense dies in that final drive. Malik Willis comes in, goes 4 for 5 for 56 yards and a touchdown. Just ices the game. And Doug Peterson, your team is now 2-6. Like you're falling apart. Your quarterback, your franchise guy, has not gotten any better. If anything, this game notwithstanding, he's gotten worse. What are we keeping you around for exactly? Because you won a Super Bowl 7 years ago with a team that, fired your ass. Like they loved you so much that they got rid of you, basically, is the situation. So I don't really know why we are continuing to pretend that Doug Peterson is some elite, smart head coach. He just doesn't appear to be. He appears to be out of his league. And I don't know if he's handcuffed, bad GM, bad ownership, whatever. And I'm sure all of that is true. But I just like this experiment is I'm just done with it. I'm just done with it. There's nothing more he can do for this team. So you might as well just start all over and start looking at Shedeur Sanders highlights or, Dylan Gabriel highlights. I don't know. Figure it out. And then also with the Packers. So Jordan Love leaves the game. He is going to be coming, or he could be ready next week. I do have something on this. Malik Willis may have found something in Green Bay. And look, I know this happens every year. We saw it last year with Josh Dobbs, right? Or even with Nick Mullins. I like how it's all Minnesota Vikings related. Or even a guy like Joe Flacco, who is elite. That's not a joke. But Jordan Love this year has not been all that good. But the quarterback that has been pretty darn good for Green Bay, Malik Willis. I mean, at least 3 of their wins, you could say, are credited to him, right? You got this win and then the couple of games that he started, right? I mean, their season very well could have gone under if Malik Willis sucked, but Malik Willis has played pretty darn well. And he's been able to play a pretty competent job where, he is more consistent to me than Jordan Love has been. Jordan Love has been, you'll have a good game, but he'll throw 3 interceptions, or he'll get hurt, or something, or he just won't play a good game. Malik Willis, maybe it's just a matter of there's not a lot of tape on him, or, he's just in a good system or whatever. But even if he isn't a good, he is giving you more of a chance to win, it seems. Honestly, in a weird way, and regardless of whatever quarterback is playing, I think it would be a tough game. But in a weird way, I'd kind of rather see Jordan Love than Malik Willis, because I don't know that Jordan Love is playing fully healthy. But Malik Willis, every time he's played pretty well. So I don't know. I would say for the Pack, I think it is something to talk about. I think there is something there. It's not a total nothing. That's just me though. And also we got to laugh at the Bears. Wow. I will tell you, I have seen games go in many different directions before. This game, for let's say the first, 2.5 hours, was not particularly exciting. Neither team scored a touchdown in the first half. One team scored a touchdown in the third quarter. Then the Bears score an 8-point touchdown, the 2-point convert the 2 points. It feels like, oh, okay, well, the Bears are going to win this game. And then God said no. I don't know what else to put. Jaden Daniels heaves up a prayer midfield. I'm like, okay, they got 10 seconds. They're probably going to be there at the best. They need to get into field goal range. And I think they had one timeout at that point. They just need to take some shots and then go from there. And then, they used the timeout. They didn't have any way to stop the clock. So they're sort of stuck in the middle of the field. And Jaden Daniels just loads up a prayer and bounces into the back of the end zone. Guy is right there. Touchdown. Commanders win. No flag. I've seen Hail Marys work. I've seen that happen. I can't say I've seen that. Especially when you had a Bears player whose name escapes me at this moment, a Bears player who was talking smack to the crowd and acting like he won the game. Brother, it's the NFL. Nothing is guaranteed. I don't care how much time they got left. Until I see triple zeros, the game's not over. Especially when we're talking about a one-possession game where they need a touchdown. Because we knew what the game plan was going to be. They were going to throw a Hail Mary. Everybody knew it. Everybody in the world knew it. All Chicago has to do is pretty much put every single guy on defense in that end zone and just knock the ball down. Just knock it away. Don't knock it up. Don't knock it to the side. Knock it to the ground. Just forward motion. Get it away from the end zone. And, well, if he was a volleyball player, he'd be pretty good. Because he set his teammate, a.k.a. the Washington Commander receiver, up for success. And, look, the question becomes this. And, look, we've been sort of following it pretty much all year. Did the Bears take the wrong guy? Because Jaden Daniels, let me just run the stats for you. Jaden Daniels in their head-to-head matchup, 326 yards, touchdown, 21 for 38. He also ran the ball 8 times for 52 yards. Caleb Williams, on the other hand, 10 for 24, 131 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He ran it 10 times for 41 yards. So a total of less than 200 yards from Caleb Williams. And look, here's what I'll say, because people will say, "Oh, well, it's still early," and that's true. It is still early. Whenever this sort of thing happens, like every year we get, it can change sometimes, but whenever I hear about these guys that are guaranteed one of ones, these guys are absolutely going to go one overall. It's not a question. These guys are just so good. They're going to be elite easily. They'll hit the ground running. And then week 1, doesn't look good. And then week 2, doesn't look good. And then week 3, maybe you know what? Let's even look at the stats for Caleb. Okay? Game logs here. Okay. Week 1, not good. Right? Just 93 yards. And then week 2, also not that good. Losing the game. They won the game in week 1. Then week 3, looked pretty good, but lost the game. Got a lot of numbers, lost the game. Then week 4, win the game, not that great. Then week 5, all right, here we go. Destroy a great game and a great win. Oh, here we go. Week 5, finally time to turn it around. Then week 6, pretty good game and a win. Okay, all right, that's fine. And then we're back to the status quo. Bad game, lose the game. I'm not saying Caleb Williams is deserving of being thrown into the dumpster. But when Caleb Williams was presented to me, he was a can't-miss prospect. He was elite, ready to go. He was Patrick Mahomes 2.0. And all I've seen is him beat up on the Panthers and beat up on the Jaguars, and then in basically every other game, either play well and lose, or play bad and lose, or play bad and find a way to win. Like, there has never been the game where the game is on the line. Like, he went into the third quarter with less than 100 yards passing. This is your one of one? Like, I'm just saying. You can't tell me this guy is generational. This guy is beyond the pale that every other quarterback in the draft, it's not even close. And then he doesn't score a single touchdown in the first 2 quarters. You can't do that. You just can't. Okay? You can say It's the team. It's the coaching. Whatever. It's everything. Okay. The Bears have a bad coach. I told you this going into the year. What I didn't tell you was that Caleb Williams is going to play at a pedestrian level going into week 9. They've already had their bye. All right. There's no more like, well, let him get an extra week of rest and figure it out. Because this was very similar to the sort of stuff Caleb Williams did when he was at USC, where he'd be able to put up really big numbers in some of these early games, some of these games that don't matter. As soon as the lights get on him, then it becomes a little bit more, difficult, right? And I look, Lions fan, I don't want him to be good. I hope he throws 5 interceptions against the Lions on Thanksgiving. Okay? I hope he gets benched on Thanksgiving because he's so bad. Actually, I don't hope he gets benched. I hope he stays in because he's so bad. And they don't bench him. To me, it's one of those things where sometimes when you're that second guy, when you're the Jaden Daniels, when you're the CJ Stroud, right? When you're the guy who people say, yeah, he's pretty good, but I get like he's second overall, right? Like Caleb Williams is the guy to go for. Sometimes that just it alleviates any of the pressure, lets you just kind of smooth sailing, right? It's the difference between being, to use a baseball analogy, it's the difference between being Tarek Skubal and Casey Mize. If Tarek Skubal would have sucked, 15th round pick or whatever he was, pick number 700, Casey Mize, all he's told is how great he is. Number 1 overall. Top guy off the board. Easily one of one. Now he might be lucky to be pitching in the bullpen. And Tarek Skubal is going to win the Cy Young. Sometimes it's a blessing and a curse to be the number 1 overall guy. And I think in today's media world, it's becoming more and more likely that it's a curse. A few picks notwithstanding in recent memory, but it seems like a lot of these one-of-ones, generational talents, can't fail prospects, if they get into a good organization, they'll do just fine. But if they get into one that's dysfunctional, one that has already dumped multiple quarterbacks taken in the first round over the past 3-4 seasons, maybe you're just another one of those guys. Maybe Caleb Williams 3-4 years from now, maybe he'll be Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. You don't know. Maybe on the other end, 3-4 years from now, he'll be Mitch Trubisky. He'll be Justin Fields. He'll be Jay Cutler. Name your Bears quarterback in recent memory. He'll be Rex Grossman. I don't know. What I do know is Jaden Daniels is far and away playing better football than he is right now, than Caleb Williams. It's just a fact. If you're a Bears fan, you disagree. I'd love to hear why. I really would. Anyway, one more thing here before we get into brief baseball and then into the picks. So the Cowboys, they lose again. All right. Mike McCarthy, why are you employed? What do you do here? I look, as a certified Cowboys hater, I hope he keeps his job forever. And don't let this final score indicate anything to you. This game was a blowout. This game was over in the third quarter. All right? Like, Cowboys were up at the half, 10-6. Then they gave up 3 straight touchdowns. 21 unanswered. Game was over. And like all these late, they almost came back. Dude, this game was over, okay? The San Francisco 49ers right now, this year, had their healthiest receiver was the guy who got shot, all right? Going into this year, the healthiest receiver was Ricky Pearsall, who got shot at the beginning of the year, all right? George Kittle obviously goes off on his national tight end day, and Deebo Samuel, I guess the pneumonia wasn't that bad because he ended up catching he had 4 catches for 71 yards. I guess it wasn't that bad. whatever pneumonia he was dealing with wasn't that bad. Like, to me, this just shows the difference in coaching, right? Because on paper, you would say that the Cowboys were set up to win this, right? coming off of a bye. You know, they're 3-1 on the road. They play the road warriors. They play really well on the road for some reason. You know, Brock Purdy just had a terrible game. All the receivers are hurt, seemingly. You know, Dak Prescott, chip on his shoulder. CeeDee Lamb, chip on his shoulder. And they just come in and show their ass. Just like they always do. Just like they always do. This is not new. This is not some revelation. I'm not, I'm not, St. Paul in the Bible. I'm not presenting some new information to you. All right? I'm not, it's just like, this is just what happens every year with the Cowboys is beginning of the year. And I guess this year people were just tired of it because we were like, all right, this Cowboys team, they were supposed to go all in, didn't happen. Now I don't see them doing all that well. At this point, they're lucky the Giants exist because they would be the worst team in their division. This Cowboys team probably won't even make the playoffs at the rate they're going. And if they do, it'll be that final wild card spot, and they'll probably get cooked. Take that for what it's worth. And I just want to also let it be known, the Cowboys have not won a home game since the refs bailed out the Cowboys and screwed the Lions in that game last year. It's the last time the Cowboys won a home game. Ain't that something? I mean, hey, Cowboys fans, if at the time you guys wanted your little win, you wanted your little, look, we beat you. You guys tried to run a trick play. You got tricked by your own trick play. Ha. That's why you're the Lions. We're like, okay, fine. Well, that's all right. How about you lose 5 straight home games? All of them in blowouts, by the way. Including against, the Lions. Anyway, we all enjoy watching the Cowboys. It's great. It's a lot of fun. I get great joy every time the Cowboys lose. It's like Christmas. It's like my birthday. It's everything. It's very few things in the sports world where I get schadenfreude, right? Because I really don't hate a whole lot of teams, but I do hate the Cowboys. I hate the University of Michigan. Any sports, specifically football, probably most, and I guess the Packers and the rest of the NFC North. But there's just something about the Cowboys. It's just delicious. It's like ice cream and apple pie and chocolate cake and other dessert. It just fills your soul with joy and sugar and love and happiness. I could go on and on. Anyone want to continue to hear me talk about how much I love watching the Cowboys lose? Because I could do it. I could. Oh, and one more thing before we briefly talk about baseball, because I realized I didn't put it in my show notes. Jameis Winston gets a win with the Browns. Yeah, Deshaun Watson, please retire. Just stop. You're not coming back. This is the second year in a row where the bum off the street quarterback comes in, the backup comes in the very next week after his bum ass gets hurt and goes out and wins the game against a team in the Baltimore Ravens, which is a Super Bowl contender. Just stop playing football, Deshaun. Just stop. All right? Turn yourself in, go to jail, and have people forget about you because you're already a pretty terrible human being. We don't need you to also be a terrible football player. Anyway. So I want to briefly just talk about the World Series because it probably will be over by the end of the night. Well, maybe not necessarily, as Jazz Chisholm just grounded into a ground ball out, but you got the tying run in scoring position for the Yankees. They're down 2-0 for the Dodgers. So I feel like this World Series, assuming that the Dodgers end up holding on to this 2-0 lead here, this World Series is going to be defined by the Game 1 walk-off win, Dodgers in LA, grand slam, Freddie Freeman, 10th inning. Nestor Cortez in to pitch for the Yankees, guy who hadn't pitched in a month, and Aaron Boone is like, yeah, let's put him out. Put him out there in a situation where we got to win the game. We have a chance to win the game. We just need, an out. and Freddie Freeman goes yard, a la Kirk Gibson. Freddie Freeman, obviously with a sprained ankle, which I know what that's like. The fact that he's able to play with a sprained ankle, these guys are tough. But yeah, they win it in the Grand Slam, and then game 2, Dodgers win it. Shohei gets hurt sliding into second base. He's still playing, but he's a little hurt. Apparently, his batting average in the World Series is like 100. He has not been very good in the World Series, but yet the Dodgers are still getting the job done. And then last night they practically shut out the Yankees. It wasn't technically a shutout by the end of it. They win 4-2, but the Yankees scored those 2 runs, I want to say, in the 9th or in the 8th. And Giancarlo Stanton just grounded out and left those 2 runners stranded. So the Dodgers get out of it in the first inning. That was just the first inning. Wow. Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of talked about this at the beginning of the show, but this just feels like such a letdown of a World Series. Like, the World Series is going to be over by probably the end of the night. It's like that. It's like we don't get to Game 6. Like, I can't remember the last time we had a Game 7 World Series. What was it, 2017? Was it the Dodgers? Or, the Nationals? I believe that went to 7 games, right? I mean, the 2020 World Series with the Dodgers and the Braves, that was pretty entertaining, right? 2021, that was a pretty good one. Braves and the was that Astros as well? Or no, I don't know who that was. I don't remember who the Braves played. That one was kind of fun. 22 was the Astros. 23 was Rangers and Diamondbacks. That one was kind of a letdown. I'm just like what does baseball have to do to have a really good World Series? You kind of thought this was going to be the one to really kind of light a fire under the baseball world. If you could get this series to go to 7 games, and maybe the Yankees come back, and they got to come back in this game first. But maybe they come back. Maybe they do take this series to 7. If they could take this series to 7, then maybe baseball will have something to go off of. But I'm sorry, if you have now back-to-back championships where the series is decided in 5 games or less, that is, I mean, you can't control it, but that's just, it sucks. It really does suck for the game. It's fun to see Freddie Freeman go yard every night, but it's like, why? I wanted to see Juan Soto go off, or Aaron Judge, or like Aaron Judge right now is batting worse than ALS Lou Gehrig. All right, this is getting to the point where it's like, okay, are you really just a regular season merchant, Aaron Judge? Because at a certain point, it's just kind of who you are. And the amount of postseason games he's played, he's been awful. I think he's had 1 home run. Let me see if I can look this up. Let's just see. Aaron Judge. He's one of the best players in baseball, right? He's probably going to win the MVP this year. Let me see his postseason numbers. Postseason batting. Here we go. Postseason batting in his career, he bats 196 with a 733 OPS. He has a total of 15 home runs in 15 total series. So 1 home run per series played. In the World Series, he's got no home runs. In the AL wild card, he's got 3, 6 in the DS, 6 in the CS. At a certain point, man, it's just kind of who you are. It doesn't show OPS plus. I wish it did, but I don't know. It's bothersome. It's bothersome, and I'm sure if we were doing Yankee talk, if I was a Yankee fan, this would be one of the most brutal shows I'd have to do. I mean, for one, I'd probably be just doing the World Series. We probably wouldn't even be talking normally about what we normally would talk about. I'd probably just be entirely focused on World Series, and maybe I don't know what I would. Anyway, it sucks. I'm kind of just rooting for the Yankees just so that they can make this series interesting, but I don't have a whole lot of faith that that's what's going to happen. But it might also be kind of fun to watch Yankees fans get sad. That might also kind of be fun. I don't know. I don't really have anything against the Yankees. I hate Boston Red Sox fans more than I hate the Yankees. Boston Red Sox fans, those people. Those people don't deserve human rights. I mean, I don't know what we got to do. I don't know what court systems we got to do, what kind of amendments we might need to have to the Constitution. But if I were president, maybe we get something done. I'm just saying. All right. One moment here. Right now, we are at that point in the show. So, all right. So, final segment of the show. Here we go. You already know what it is. It is indubitably that time. It is time for the picks. Hit the music. Here we go. So, we only have one less game than we did this week, or this past week. I actually had a really good week. I got 13 wins. I got just 3 wrong. Ravens, I'm very upset with you, all right? Very upset. Just wanted to let you know. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Now, starting off Thursday night football, we got Texans visiting New York, taking on the Jets. I guess they're technically visiting New Jersey. Seth is taking the Texans. I am going to agree because I hate Aaron Rodgers and I want to watch him lose. So, yeah, give me the Texans. Although, to be fair, look, CJ Stroud has not really had any amazing games all year. Like, he's had series or like points in games where he looks really good, but he has not had that game that I think a lot of people expected him to have where he was going to be, an MVP candidate. He really just hasn't. But I do think the Texans are just a better team than the Jets because the Jets are just falling apart at this point. Up next, we got the Cowboys visiting the Falcons. Seth is taking the Falcons. I'm going to agree wholeheartedly. I don't know how Mike McCarthy is still employed as we speak today. If he loses to the Falcons, there is no way, no chance this guy keeps his job. The Falcons are not terrible, so I'm not saying that's the reason. But the Falcons are not, a Super Bowl contender, right? They should, in theory, be on a similar level as the Cowboys. But I do think Captain Kirko, in a 1 o'clock slate, I think he's got it. I think he will get this one done. So give me the Birds. I'm gonna do that for every Bird team that I pick. All right, just get ready for that. I really hope I'm not picking any more Bird teams. Broncos visiting the Ravens. Oh boy, Seth is taking the Ravens. Yeah, I think this is a bounce back week for the Ravens. I don't think that last week is indicative of the kind of team the Ravens are. And I also don't think that last week is indicative of the kind of team the Broncos are. I just think it's basically any team that plays the Panthers looks like, the 2008 Patriots minus the Super Bowl. Like, I think it's basically you just are the greatest team ever when you play the Panthers. It's if you want to get right week, you better play the Panthers. I wish the Lions played the Panthers again this year. That would be great because it would. Honestly, I think we might score 100. And Hendon Hooker would be in the second quarter. That's how bad it would be. But yeah, the Ravens, I do just think they're the better team. And the Broncos, they're playing okay, but I just don't know that Bo Nix is really that guy. He's had a couple of really nice games, though. I don't really trust Sean Payton. I'll take the Ravens, yeah. So give me those Birds. See, I told you I was going to do it. I'm sorry. I made that promise. I didn't realize what I was signing up for. So we're doing it for every Bird team that I pick winning here. All right. Hopefully there's not that many Bird teams playing this week. Dolphins at the Bills. Seth taking the Bills. I'll also take the Bills. Not a whole lot of separation here for me and Seth. Yeah, the Bills are just a better team. Tua coming back of the injury, comes off the injury with a loss to the Cardinals. It feels like the train has sort of already left the station with the Dolphins. It just feels like a wash of a year, especially against the Bills. It's going to be a colder Sunday, November afternoon game. I don't know. Dolphins usually don't play well in Buffalo, and Buffalo's coming off a blowout win in Seattle. So, yeah, I think they're feeling pretty good. And they just always seem to beat the Dolphins, so give me the Bills. Saints at the Panthers. Ew, yuck, gross. I'm going to throw up right now on screen. Seth is taking. Don't tell me he's taking. There's no way he's taking. There's no way. Where's the pick? He's taking the Saints. Okay. I was gonna say, yeah. I I've said this before. I'm just not taking the Panthers ever. I'm just not. Like, this game might end up like 6-0 Saints or 6-0 Panthers because these two teams are terrible. All right, the Saints have a terrible head coach. I don't know what. Dennis Allen, what do you even do here? What is it that you do here? Panthers have a terrible quarterback. Bryce Young should have been shipped off yesterday. All right, he should have been gone because he has no future here. You might as well just throw in Andy Dalton there or maybe even keep Bryce Young in there and just watch him die and then draft, Cam Ward or Quinn Ewers. I don't know. Anything else? Anybody's got to be better than Bryce Young. He's terrible. The Saints they're gonna win, but it's probably gonna be ugly. So yeah, give me the Saints. Raiders visiting the Bungles. Seth is taking the Bungles. This is like the battle of which team wants to lose more. I guess I'll take the Bengals just from a talent perspective. I don't even know. Is Gardner Minshew playing quarterback now for the Raiders? I don't even know. It's a mess. They lose their best wide receiver in Devontae Adams, obviously, this earlier. At least with the Bengals, theoretically, they can put up points. Theoretically, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow have something of a connection, but, theory doesn't go that far. So, yeah, I guess I'll just take the Bengals. Chargers visiting the Browns in Cleveland. Seth is taking his Chargers. I am actually going to disagree. I'm going to take the Brownies at home. Jameis Winston comes in. He's bringing a new energy to the Browns. This just feels a lot like last year, where a new quarterback comes in, energizes the team. Guys playing around him. I mean, they made the Ravens look silly. I'm not saying that they're going to be able to make the Chargers look silly, but the Chargers are a defense-first team. They just are. They don't have firepower offensively. Lad McConkey, fine player. Going to need a little bit more proof of product for him. The Browns are a very bad team, but I just favor the hometown in Cleveland. I favor the home field advantage. Jameis Winston, I don't know. He's either going to throw 5 interceptions or he's going to throw 5 touchdowns. And there's no in between. Maybe I got him throwing 5 touchdowns. That's what I got. Give me the Brownies. Commanders at the Giants. Seth is taking the Commies. Yeah, gotta take the Commies here. The Giants are terrible. That game on Monday Night Football, that was an abuse to football. That was one of the worst football games I've ever seen. That 2-point conversion that Daniel Jones and that offense, I wasn't even mad at Daniel Jones for that because it was what? First of all, what is this play call? Why are you going for 2 and this is your play? Second of all, if this is your play, what are all those guys on the other side doing not blocking? Literally, Steeler just the ball was snapped. They were looking the other way. It's dude, what are you, are you just stupid? I've never seen anything like it. But yeah, the Commanders, despite a kind of rougher game for Jaden Daniels as far as scoring goes and finishing drives last week, he did put up over 300 yards. So I think that he's going to feast upon the Giants this week. And yeah, for New York, I hear that George Sanders is going to be pretty good. Maybe. I don't know. Patriots at the Titans. Ew, yuck, gross, disgusting. I'm actually sickened by the thought of this game. Seth is taking the Titans. Taking the Titans as, I guess, because they're the home team. Yeah, I mean, no Drake May. Jacoby Brissett is sort of what he is, at least with the Titans. Maybe, you get the Calvin Ridley connection with Mason Rudolph. They were looking pretty good in the first couple of quarters there in Detroit for a little bit, and then the whole world fell in on them. So in that sense, I guess I do think that the Titans might have a slight edge, but I don't know. We could very well see the Titans continue to trade off pieces by the end of this week. So at this juncture, I'm taking the Titans. Bears at the Cardinals. Seth is taking the Cardinals. And I am also going to agree with him here. I feel like we're just agreeing on basically everything. This is going to come down to the Chargers. Yeah, look, Caleb Williams, another rough game for him last week. He didn't, not his fault that his team blew it at the very end on the Hail Mary. But it is his fault that his team was down 12-0 and no touchdowns were scored in the first 2 quarters. I just got this feeling about this Cardinals team, man. They're leading their division. I said it going into this year. I thought they could be pretty good and a little scrappy. They might be able to make the playoffs, and this is the kind of game that they got to win if they want to keep those playoff hopes alive. And the same basically applies to the Bears. I don't know. I kind of like this Cardinals team. The Marvin Harrison Jr. connection with Kyler Murray needs some work, but it's cooking. It's cooking, and we'll see if maybe they can take advantage against that Bears defense. So give me the Birds. Give me the Cardinals. Again, I told you. Why do I have to take all these Bird teams? Why do they all got to be good? How about that? Stop being good, Bird team. Jaguars at the Eagles. Oh, great. I already know what I'm going to pick. The Eagles is Seth's pick, and I am also going to take the Eagles. Yeah, I mean, the Jaguars are terrible. Doug Peterson, I don't think you're going to get much of a revenge game here. Unless by revenge game you mean securing that Nick Sirianni continues to keep his job, because this is basically the blind leading the deaf, or the blind leading the deaf, or the blind leading the blind is supposed to be what the phrase. I think the blind leading the deaf is funnier, so I'm gonna say the blind leading the deaf. I don't know. The Jaguars are not very good. They find ways to lose games. The Eagles, they might be able to put up a bunch of big numbers like they did against the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think it's real, but it is a win. So give me the Eagles to win this game. That's the sound an eagle makes, everybody. Lions at the Packers. Seth is taking the Lions. Good for you, Seth. A man of integrity. That's why he's my co-host sometimes when the Home Depot is not making him work on every single evening. I don't know how that guy stays alive. This is a shout out to Seth, real quick. Anyway, Lions coming into this game after blowing the doors off the Titans. Another division game on the road. And the status of Jordan Love is somewhat questionable. He's probably good to go, but for how long is the question? And for how, if he is good to go, will that actually be a factor in the favor of the Packers? I just don't know. I think the Lions have probably had this game circled. They remember that Thanksgiving game where the Packers knocked the doors off them on national television. I think the Lions really going to have this game hyper-focused on. The problem is, I think it could be close given the way their pass rush is currently playing. Maybe they get Josh Paschal back, and that brings a little bit more to that edge. But as it stands, I think this is going to be a close game, but I do think the Lions can come away with a win. I just think they're more talented on both sides of the ball. So give me the Lions. Up next, the Rams visiting Seattle, taking on the Seahawks. Seth is taking the Seahawks to win this game. Now, I am going to take the Rams. I said it a couple of weeks ago at this point. I just think we're kind of done with Geno Smith. I think that run is over. I think the Seahawks should be looking for a new quarterback at this point. He was fun. Thanks for the memories, even though they all weren't so great. But this feels like a Rams win. I mean, they just had the nice win at home against Minnesota on a long break. Cooper Kupp is back. Puka Nacua is back. Matthew Stafford is dialing up those two. And that offense is scary good when he's got those guys running around in the middle of the field. So give me the Rams to beat the chickens of the Seahawks. And Sunday Night Football. Oh, Sunday night. The Colts visiting Minnesota, taking on the Vikings. This is one of the games of the week. Said they're taking the Vikings. Yeah, I'll take the Vikings again. I think this is a bounce back week. Look, Anthony Richardson has officially been benched. He's terrible. He's a complete bust. I don't even know why he was taken to begin with. He was not good in Florida. And I guess Indianapolis thought he was going to be good in the pros. I don't know how that works, but it is what it is. I think the Vikings are going to win this. Sam Darnold, despite the loss, I thought played at a pretty competent level last week against the Rams. But I think he's going to bounce back here on the national stage. Or he's going to fall apart under the bright lights like he does a lot. So, give me the Vikings. And finally, Monday Night Football, Buccaneers visiting the Chiefs. Seth is taking the Buccaneers. Ooh, a little haterade spiked choice. I'm taking the Chiefs. I said it before. I can't pick against the Chiefs. I just can't. Like, I was talking to my brother last week. He was like, "Are they gonna lose a game?" I was like, "I don't know." I don't know. Like, They just have this amazing defense, this amazing ability to bring teams down to their level. Now, granted, they barely beat the Vegas Raiders last week. It came down to a 4th and goal that they stopped them, but it was defense, right? Patrick Mahomes is having probably the worst start of the season in his career. But yet, his team is undefeated. The Buccaneers just came off a bad loss to a division rival. They played pretty well, but it just, the game never got into their hands. I feel like the Chiefs are just going to suffocate this Buccaneers team. I don't think they have the guys. Cade Otton is pretty much your best option as far as receivers go. So, yeah, give me the Chiefs. I think they're just going to suffocate the Buccaneers. All right, rounding it out here. Texans, Jets, we are both taking the Texans. Cowboys, Falcons, we are both taking the Falcons. Broncos, Ravens, we are both taking the Ravens. Dolphins, Bills, we are both taking the Bills. Saints, Panthers, we are both taking the Saints. Raiders, Bengals, we are both taking the Bengals. Chargers, Browns, Seth is taking his Chargers. I am taking the Browns. Commanders, Giants, we are both taking the Commanders. Patriots, Titans, we are both taking the Titans. Bears, Cardinals, we are both taking the Cardinals. Jaguars, Eagles, we are both taking the Eagles. Lions, Packers, we are both taking the Lions. Rams, Seahawks, Seth is taking the Seahawks. I am taking the Rams. Colts, Vikings, we are both taking the Vikings. And Buccaneers, Chiefs. Seth is taking the Buccaneers, and I am taking the Chiefs. And those are your NFL Week 9 picks. Man. These shows get longer and longer, man. I guess that's just what it is. Football season just makes these shows longer. We got so much more to talk about. I love it, man. Football season is so much fun. It's so much fun to cover. But that is where we wrap it up. I got nothing else to say here. I guess show notes. No Michigan State live stream this weekend. I will be out of town, so I won't obviously be able to call the game, watch the game live. But Lions Sunday, that game is at 4:25 p.m. Eastern. So we'll probably be live around 4:15-ish. So we'll be live calling and reacting to that game. Should be a great time. Hopefully the Lions come away with another win. And we'll be able to talk about another division, or being able to hold on to that division lead. So with all that being said, if you enjoyed, please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe button. It does help. Right? It's good to see when I look at those numbers and I see the number go up. That's a happiness. Okay. That's me being happy. I like being happy. It's good. All right. So I will just go ahead and leave it at that and hope everybody has a great rest of your night. Clips to the show will be uploaded tomorrow. So that's that. Have a good night, everybody. And I will see you hopefully on Sunday. See you later. Goodbye. See ya. See you later. Goodbye. See you later. Goodbye. See you later. How long is it going to take for it to end? I don't.